The big news of the afternoon, of course, has been the spring statement. It's not a budget, don't call it a budget, it's just a statement. But there was significance to it, announcing more cutbacks in her spring statement, and UK's growth forecast was slashed. This was Ms Reeves at the dispatch box saying that welfare cuts will be bigger than planned because earlier savings didn't add up. She also promised more money for defence, but this will mean less funding for foreign aid. Shadow Chancellor Ms Reeves hit out, accusing her of tanking the economy, even though growth is expected to improve, but not until 2026. Here's what he said.
She chose to be reckless with a sliver of headroom against her fiddled targets. She borrowed and spent and taxed like it was the 1970s. Little wonder, Mr. Speaker, that the Chancellor has tanked the economy. Little wonder we have an emergency budget, all because of her choices.
Well, let's speak to one man who's a senior part of the Shadow Treasury team. Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Richard Fuller, MP, joins us from College Green. Richard Fuller, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Was it a popcorn moment sitting there watching the Chancellor unveil her spring budget, or was it a bit of a damp squib at the end of it all?
Well, I got the sense that she's sort of kicked the carnage down the road as far as her forecast and how she's going to deal with public spending. But, of course, the reality is we've been feeling it. Companies have been feeling it. Families have been feeling it. She confirmed today, the Chancellor confirmed today, that because of her choices, you know, she's halved the expected growth this year, and inflation's gone up, and that's going to hurt people going about their daily or weekly shop, and it's going to hurt businesses looking to hire some people. So from that point of view, it wasn't really a popcorn moment, because the reality is really tough. And whatever she might say about what might happen in 4 or 5 years, people are going to feel what's happening right now, aren't they?
Yeah, and there was nothing really in there. I mean, okay, there's a prediction that growth might reoccur from 2026. I mean, that's potentially nearly 2 years away, but that shouldn't be remarkable that we're almost celebrating that we might have growth in the 21st century for a first world Western economy.
You're exactly right. And here's what politicians aren't saying enough about, which is at those levels of growth, there's a real problem with the level of debt that we have and how much it's going to cost us to keep paying that debt, particularly as interest rates are higher than they were forecast a year ago and likely to stay higher than they were forecast for a period of time. That means more money, more taxpayers' money being spent on paying off the debt for things that we have expenditures in the past. And then no one's really talking about how quickly we need to increase our defence expenditures. In the last election, the Conservative Party, my party, were clear. We felt we needed to go further, faster, and in this Parliament achieve 3%. Today we've heard Sweden has decided it's going to increase its defence budget to 3.5%. So how do all these numbers add up? As I say, I think come June, when my opposite number, the Chief Secretary of Treasury, has to outline budgets by department for 3 years. That's where we'll start to see some of the problems. And I tell you this here, just like it always happens under socialist governments, come the autumn, Ms Reeves will be back for more taxes from working people.
In terms of one of the big central areas that this government we are told, determined to focus on, which is house building. They reaffirmed that pledge of 3 million homes, of 1.5 million homes, 305,000 a year. I mean, we're halfway through the first year. I don't know how well that's going. I mean, this is wildly ambitious, if for no other reason than the shortage of skilled workers in that area. They did talk about supplying more, but will it be enough? And getting your hands on enough materials to build those kind of homes. I mean, this is a massively ambitious project. Can they achieve it?
Well, look, I mean, one of the important things for me as a Conservative is to be honest about some of the mistakes that we made during the time that we were in office. And one of those was, despite efforts with the apprenticeship levy, etc., we remained too much in thrall of people getting academic qualifications and not the serious need to train our people up on technical skills so they could be the builders and plumbers, fitters and roofers that we're going to need if we're going to build all the things that we want to achieve growth in this country, including housing. And I think there is a real problem here. In fact, I've got to check, but I think if you look in the detail of what the Office for Budget Responsibility said in its forecast, actually they scored down, reduced the number of houses they thought would be built over this period in government, perhaps reflecting some of the concerns that you and I share.
In terms of brutal honesty here, and I know it's always tricky when, you know, it's party politics. Was there any part, Richard, of that budget that you thought, she's done very well here, this we can endorse, we can get behind this?
I heard that you said that she... Oh. Sorry, Ian, you cut that there. Do you want to just say that again?
Yeah. Was there anything within that entire spring statement that you felt as Conservatives that you could get behind?
Well, we wish her luck with the reforms on welfare. You know, it's a complicated issue, and she sort of made a bit of a hash to the start of it. We said in the election last year that we would reduce welfare. Mel Stride, the Shadow Chancellor at that time, was in the Department for Work and Pensions, has been working on a plan, because you can't rush these things. A lot of people who are on benefits deserve those benefits, but we also recognise that there can be improvements can be made. The Conservative administration of 14 years in, Duncan Smith, you may remember going way back there, bringing in universal credit, changes after COVID. These cannot be rushed, but we do support those efforts. We just feel the Chancellor's plan needs a bit more work on it, and she ought to be looking for larger savings than perhaps she herself has directed to achieve today.
I tell you what, it's not going to be a dull Parliament for the next 4 years, that's true. Enjoy the battle, though, Richard. Richard Fuller, MP, Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury.